Hi, GPC family. It's Pastor Susie, and I'm cooking something new today. Sort of new. One of my dear parishioners, Evelyn Mosley, brought me the ingredients for this recipe as well as the recipe. So this is the recipe is oven baked falafel, and instead of doing the falafels itself, I'm gonna spread it out onto the cookie sheet and just make one flatbread, because that's what I'm really enjoying eating with hummus right now. And so I'm going to do it that way instead of making the individual falafel patties. So I'm changing the recipe up a little bit because I don't have all of the ingredients. I'm continually making do with what I have. So I'll tell you what it calls for and then what I'm going to do differently. So the way that I'm replacing my hummus, since I'm not going to the grocery store yet, is that I'm doing curbside pickup at Casablanca over on Poplar Pike, which is almost 2 doors down from Germantown Presbyterian Church. And so I get an order of hummus and I get a tabbouleh salad. And I get that about every other Tuesday before I go out and do the flour deliveries, which now count 118 flour deliveries since Pentecost, which was the first Sunday in June. So that's I'm so thankful for our Petals and Prayers flower ministry. They continue to create 10 of those each week. And so I've now delivered 118 flower arrangements. So on Tuesday afternoon, before I set out, I needed a little nourishment. And so I've been doing a curbside pickup there at Casablanca of hummus and tabbouleh. And then I have that hummus to bring home as well. So, but this recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of olive oil. And I did replenish my olive oil because I was out of it, and I replenished it at Casablanca as a part of my curbside pickup. So a 1/4 cup of olive oil, and then a cup of dried chickpeas. So Evelyn gave me these as well. And then you soak those and overnight, and then you drain them. And then they're going to go into the food processor. Everything's going to go in here, and it's going to make the dough. The recipe also calls for a small red onion and 4 cloves of garlic. Now, I don't have any onion, I don't have any garlic, so I looked up online, YouTube, what you can substitute, and I found out that lots of people can't eat onion or garlic. But there was a substitution that I found that I'm going to partially do. But one of the key ingredients in the substitution is cloves. And so I have both whole cloves and ground cloves. So I'm going to use ground cloves in there. And then the rest of the recipe calls for black pepper. So I have that. And also calls for cumin and coriander. And I'm going to use, instead of the onion, the garlic, the cumin, and the coriander, I'm going to use this Indian seasoning that I have on hand that is cumin and fenugreek and caraway, fennel, and yellow mustard seed. So I'm going to use this. I'm going to use the cloves, the black pepper. And then it also calls for a cup of parsley leaves. And Evelyn gave me what's growing in her garden. So this is wonderful. And so it is parsley and sorrel and basil. And so I have that right here. And that's going to go in the food processor as well. So those are all the ingredients that I'm going to put in to this oven baked falafel flatbread, I guess I'm calling it. So I'm going to get that mixed up, and then I'll come back and show you what it looks like before I put it in the oven. Okay, so my mixture is finished. It really looks delicious. It kind of resembles to me tabbouleh, which has a lot of parsley in it, which this does, and doesn't have chickpeas in it. So I don't know. It's kind of like a combination of hummus and tabbouleh, perhaps. But I have done it like this on the baking sheet. The recipe calls for you to make round balls, which, that's what falafel is. So this is just going to end up being a flatbread that I will cut. I'm going to put it in the oven at 375 for 15 minutes. And then it says to flip it. So we'll see if I'm able to flip it or not. But I put it in the oven, started the timer for 15 minutes. So then we'll see. One other thing I want to tell you about, if you don't already know, and that is this is just the water that came off of the chickpeas after I soaked them, and then so I don't know if you can see that or not. If you can see what that looks like, but it's like egg white, and it's called aquafaba. That's what it's called, and you can use the water from chickpeas from the can, or like this that's fresh from the dried chickpeas. You can use that as an egg white substitute, which provides that binding element that egg whites do into a recipe. So I actually put a couple of tablespoons of this aquafaba, the chickpea water, into the mixture. And so just to help to bind it together a little bit better. So I added that element in. I will come back and let you see the progress as I go along. Blessings. Okay, so my chickpea falafel flatbread came out. I cooked them 15 minutes on the first side, and then I was able to flip them onto a clean piece of parchment paper. It's a little crumbly, and then I ended up, so I went ahead and cut them, and then I cooked them for another 15 minutes, and then I flipped them again, each piece, because that's a little thick, and I cooked them for 10 more minutes. And so they are a little bit crumbly, and the only thing I can think I would have done differently is maybe a little bit more of the aquafaba. So the chickpea liquid might have helped them bind together better. But here's a little bitty piece here. Really, really delicious. So they turned out excellent. So now I have some more flatbread to add to my flatbread collection and continue eating with my hummus. This is the aquafaba. So this is the chickpea water. I'm going to put this in the fridge, and it doesn't take very much, so I probably don't need all of this, and I don't know if it will freeze. I will find out. But this can be an egg white substitute, and it's a really, really good one. You can actually whip it like an egg white and get that volume. And again, it is a binding element to whatever you're baking. So isn't that really good to know? I want to tell you about this apron. So again, from my apron collection. This one I've never worn, and I've had this apron for probably about 15 years, something like that. Western Culinary Institute. My son, Zach, went to culinary school in Portland, Oregon. And so, of course, I had to have an apron from Western Culinary Institute. It's a cordon bleu culinary school, so he's an excellent chef. But because it's white, then I never have wanted to mess it up. But for y'all, for today, I wanted to put it on and show you one more of my aprons from my apron collection. So I've enjoyed sharing this new recipe with you. If you have a question, you can let me know. But mostly, if you have a need for a prayer, for a phone conversation, it just, give me a call. You can call the church office, leave me a message, and I'm happy to call you back and to pray with you. Whatever your needs may be, then I want to care for you in all the ways that I can. So, for this day, go forth to love and serve the Lord with all you have, with your heart and soul and mind and strength, with energy, intelligence, imagination, and love. Blessings, grace, and peace be with you all. Bye.